This is the Berman Method podcast featuring Dr. Jake Berman and physician assistant Jenny Berman. We are here to treat problems and not symptoms. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not to treat anyone or to give medical advice. If you are interested in any information that we are giving and would like to use this for yourself, we recommend that you contact your primary care physician or reach out to us and ask us questions about yourself specifically. Enjoy.
And we are back, baby. Berman Method Podcast. Here we go. Dr. Jake Berman and my lovely co-host,
Jenny Berman, physician assistant.
We are David going against Goliath. Goliath being the corporate medical system, big pharma. Speaking of big pharma, listening to this podcast may come with side effects that may include, but not limited to, cancers, lymphomas, and skin cancers, heart attacks, stroke, and even GI tears. Some people over the age of 50 are at higher risk of death.
From listening to this podcast? Or maybe from listening to this podcast, you're at lower risk for those things. Did that sound familiar, though?
So we've been watching the Olympics a lot, like a lot of people. And it's the most TV, I guess you would call it. We're watching it on YouTube, but it's still commercialized TV that we've watched ever, really, or in years, really.
Yeah. I was thinking about that last night, just how much TV we've watched this weekend compared to the last 8 months. Like the whole year combined, we've watched more this weekend in regards to the Olympics.
Yeah, it's not even 8 months. I think it's 4 years. I think we pretty much stopped watching regular TV and switched over to Netflix for things that we could choose back in 2020 when the world was coming to an end and only negative things were on regular television. But it's funny because we've been watching the Olympics and I'm cracking up almost every single commercial break, because 9.9 out of 10 commercial breaks, I had to put that number in there because it's
Gymnastics Olympics,
have at least one pharmaceutical drug that they're advertising. And it just cracks me up where this pharmaceutical is going to cure your life and make it better. And then at the very end, in 58 times speed, may cause heart attack, stroke, GI tears, increased risk of death if you're over the age of 50, may cause cancer, specifically lymphoma and skin cancer. Pretty much anything that's worse than what you currently have, this could actually produce.
Right. When you were saying all that, I was like, we should put you on double speed because then it will actually sound like the commercial.
Maybe we can edit it to do that.
But they do. They have to put it on like triple speed just to get everything in that they need to say in the last 15 seconds of the commercial.
While they're telling you that you could likely die from this, you got somebody having the best time of their life on the screen doing twirlies on the beach and just smiling from ear to ear. You could die from brain cancer.
Rather than just figuring out what is the problem and fixing the problem instead of taking the easy pill that is going to kill you anyway.
Yeah, so what we want to get in today is I guess it's controversial. I guess, is controversial the right way to talk about it? Organic versus not organic, or maybe controversial is the wrong word. There's a lot of ostrich type symptoms, meaning I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and pretend like it's not a thing, mainly because it's so expensive to buy organic versus inorganic. However, there's a couple of things that have occurred to us personally in the past couple of weeks where it's like, okay, it's getting really hard to ignore what's happening here.
Right.
So is that what we're talking about today?
Yeah, just the differences, because clients ask me all the time, should I be eating organic? And of course, my answer wants to be yes, absolutely. You need to be eating everything possible organic, washing your own food, grow your own food if you can. But we know that's not always realistic. It is more expensive to eat organic. It does take more time for you to go out and find the right organic types of foods. Obviously, it takes time to be able to grow your own foods. It takes time to be able to cook whole foods. So we understand all of that. So we have to meet people in the middle. We have to say, okay, you're investing in your health by coming to see us and getting your lab work done and learning more about what's going on internally and making the dietary changes, having the accountability. So if we have to make some adjustments on cutting costs, can we kind of go in the in between as far as organic and non-organic, use some things that are organic, some are not, just to help save money. But then we think about it now that I'm saying that, and I'm like, there's probably better areas in your life that you can cut costs than your food. But we have to have our own priorities.
The problem is the lack of immediate gratification, meaning that if you eat a 100% organic meal that costs you 5 times the amount as an inorganic meal, you don't have an immediate gratification.
That's true. You can't see it immediately.
You can't see it. You walk into the Apple store and you spend $1,200, you walk out with a brand new iPhone or iPad, and it's like immediate gratification. You put an order in on Amazon Prime, and it's literally at your doorstep 3 hours later, which has happened to us multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
When you make a purchase for organic chicken, organic vegetables, it's at least twice the cost, if not 3 or 4 times the cost, is what it would cost you to buy the inorganic version.
Right.
And you don't see the immediate rewards. It's hard.
Right.
It's really hard.
It is. However, we have to understand that clients ask us all the time. They say, well, why am I allergic or sensitive to these foods now? Or why is it becoming so more popular to have a gluten sensitivity? Or why is autoimmune disease so talked about now when it wasn't talked about this much 15 years ago? And the answer is our food. Our answer to all of those questions comes down to our food. And we were having a conversation, you and I, yesterday about the carnivore diet and how one of the people that you follow most on Instagram is a big supporter of the carnivore diet. And he was saying, we think back to our ancestors 100 years ago, and they ate what was available to them. They primarily ate meat. And my answer was, yes, I agree with that. However, they were eating meat that they were killing. They were eating organic meat that they were killing and harvesting themselves and prepping themselves. And it was much, much leaner than the meats that we have available now that we're buying at the grocery store that are pumped full of pesticides and genetically modified organisms to make the pieces of meat bigger and to get them grown faster and to be able to get them in the grocery stores quicker and with a longer shelf life. And this is where we're going wrong as far as quote unquote carnivore diet now versus what our ancestors did 100 plus years ago. The meat is not the same. The meat that we're consuming on the carnivore diet now is much more inflammatory.
When you look at it side by side, it should be a no-brainer to anybody that has any type of common sense. And I know you take that with a grain of salt. Common sense isn't so common anymore, especially with social media and AI, artificial intelligence, and fake news, hashtag fake news. How do you know what's real and what's not real anymore? However, it's black and white. You take a chicken breast from Tyson that you get from Publix, and you set it right next to a chicken breast that's organic, raised on a farm, free-range chicken that was just running around eating bugs and digging up dirt, it is a quarter of the size. A quarter of the size. I mean, not even half the size. We get organic meat in the mail from different butchers, right?
Yeah.
When we look at a chicken breast from them, and then when we run out of meat and we didn't get a shipment in time and we got to run to Publix and not run to Publix. We put in an order from, what's it called? Instacart. Yeah. And we say Greenwise chicken and Tyson shows up on our doorstep. I'm going, what in the world is this?
Yeah, that happened to us just last week with our order. We ordered the green wise chicken because we were out of our organic meats that, as Jake mentioned, we have delivered here. And they substituted, and unfortunately I wasn't right at my phone while they were doing the shopping, declining the substitution, and non-organic chicken showed up. And not only were the pieces massive, I mean, it was definitely, you could tell that it had been modified, genetically modified and injected. It was massive, but then it was so tough, like it wasn't even good.
That was nuts. That was the first time that it actually punched me in the face. And after the first bite of eating one of Jenny's deliciously prepped or beautifully prepped meals, I'm going, oh, I'm going to mess this bowl of chicken up. Like, it was avocado chicken. We
Yeah.
haven't had avocado chicken in a while. That one kind of fell off the radar. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for this. And my jaw started getting tired. And I'm going, what in the world is going on here? So I tried another piece, same thing, chewy as heck. And then on the third piece, I literally counted the amount of chews that it took for me to get it down to a level that I felt comfortable swallowing, that my digestive system could actually process. And it was over 100 chews for one piece of chicken. And I'm going, this cannot be healthy. Like, it can't be.
Right. And same thing, we're doing some grocery tours and shopping videos at the grocery stores now for social media. So if you haven't seen them, jump on over to our social media and take a look at it. But I was comparing two Granny Smith green apples. So identical type of apples. One was organic and one was non-organic. And I was telling Jake afterwards, I said, that non-organic apple was 2.5 times the size of the organic apple. The non-organic was 2.5 size of the organic. And he's like, no way. And I showed you the video, and wasn't it 2.5 size, the non-organic apple? And that's just because of the amount of things that are being injected into these crops to get the fruits and vegetables to grow faster, more efficiently, so they can get them on the stores and they can extend the shelf life and they can grow them bigger. It's just ridiculous what we're putting into our bodies through these non-organic foods.
We should do a little research on it and get the exact numbers, because I would not be the least bit surprised if that inorganic apple only took a quarter of the amount of time to grow as an organic apple, and it was over double the size.
Right. Yeah.
And I get it. We're overpopulated. There's no way that 100% of our American population would be able to eat organically, assuming that it was affordable. We just couldn't sustain it. So I get it. We have to feed our population. And the only way to do that right here, right now, is with GMO, genetically modified foods, right? And our bodies just are not able to recognize it and process it because it's foreign.
Right.
It's not, our body is looking at it as fake food.
Yeah, and that's in my fellowship that I'm doing. I'm doing the autoimmune module right now, and he was talking about the relationship between the amount of organisms and pesticides and GMOs being injected into our food compared to the amount of autoimmune disease. And it's directly related that our body, these organisms that we're consuming through our food are taking place and attaching to receptor sites of our cells that our natural hormones should be attaching to. And so that's where our immune system is increasing and going on overdrive and is reacting on a constant basis because of these organisms that are attaching where our hormones should be. So it's just incredible to understand the process of how autoimmune disease is becoming so much more prevalent because of this. He was actually saying that many Americans have very high levels of mercury right now, and it's not from eating fish. It's from mercury being put into our food, into our fruits and our vegetables and our animal-based proteins.
Didn't you just find a stat where they were looking at people that drank a lot of wine or did I hear this from somebody else? And they had super elevated levels of, I forget the name of the pesticide that is used to spray the grapes.
Oh, like polyphenols?
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't me, but it makes sense
Yeah,
to
this
me.
just happened coincidentally. Somebody just told me this a month or two ago where it's like, yeah, we're seeing this ever increasing prevalence of this chemical in people's blood. And they're going, well, I eat 100% organic. How can that be? I don't eat pesticides. Yeah, but you drink 2 or 3 glasses of wine every night, and that
Right.
wine by default has pesticides in it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, how do you keep the bugs off of the grapes?
I believe it. I believe that. And, that's why people are like, well, I'm just going to go and vegan and I'm going to, avoid animal-based protein and fish and all the meats, everything completely. But going vegan and eating your fruits and vegetables is not much better in
It's the same
America.
thing.
Yeah, you're still getting the same kind of organisms and pesticides when you're eating your fruits and vegetables, and then your carbohydrate content outweighs your protein content, and that spikes your blood sugar, and then these organisms, these fungi and bacteria feed off of the sugar in your bloodstream. So then you're actually even in worse shape than you would if you actually ate a little bit of protein. Nothing against vegans. We work with them. I support them, but we have to teach them how to get the right amount of protein too.
Man, this is a lot of doom and gloom on this episode. We're going to have a silver lining here in a minute or two, and we'll talk about here's some strategies that you can start implement. Here's the easy button, or the easier button, if you will. But before we get into that, I do want to make sure that people are 100% clear on what they're eating in restaurants, because I was completely ignorant to this. And Bob, my first boss in Destin, he's actually the one that told me this, because I was a big fan of going to Ale House every Friday night and going to these other places. And again, I was just out of college, no big deal, right? And he was the first person to start talking to me about organic and locally grown food. This was before Jenny, you were in my life. And I said, well, yeah, I'm going to these places and I'm ordering healthy meals. I'm ordering chicken. I'm ordering steak. I'm ordering broccoli. And he goes, yeah, but it's still getting there from a Cisco truck. And I'm going, what are you talking about? He goes, they're not going to the local farms and getting your chicken. The Cisco truck is delivering your food to the restaurants so they can essentially heat it up. Like, not a whole lot of it is cooked. And I'm going, are you freaking kidding me? He goes, no, man. If you're not going to a 100% organic seed to table restaurant, something you're eating is processed.
Right.
Because there's only one way that you can get a chicken breast to stay fresh from point A to point B, and that's with preservatives. So here I was thinking that I was eating something healthy because I was ordering chicken and veggies. And he goes, yeah, but it doesn't matter. The broccoli is full of preservatives. How do you think it stays green for 6 weeks or however long it's been since it's been plucked to the minute it shows up on your plate? There's a reason why it's staying that way, because it's filled with preservatives.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, that just completely changed everything for me. And the same thing is true here in Naples. It's true everywhere. If you're not going somewhere like Chipotle, for example, one of the reasons why they've gained so much popularity is they allegedly source everything locally. So wherever the restaurant is, they're getting their ingredients from local suppliers, trying to minimize anything that's processed. That's not the case with Subway. It's not the case with 90% of your restaurants out there. These things are showing up on Cisco trucks and every variation of food delivery systems, and they're in giant bags, 5-gallon bags, 10-gallon bags, filled with preservatives. And then they dress it up real nice and put it on your plate, and you're like, yeah, I did real great tonight.
Add a little butter in there too.
Yeah.
Or they even use margarine, not even butter.
Yeah.
But even this is the case with we were just talking a couple weeks ago with a local pharmacist here about vaccines, the preservatives that are in vaccines, and how difficult of a time that I had when I was still consistently getting the flu vaccines to get a gluten-free, preservative-free flu vaccine. Like, that was challenging for me to be able to find. I was working at the hospital during the COVID times and had to go to a local pharmacy in Naples to be able to get a preservative-free vaccine for the flu shot because the hospital didn't even have one. And I'm just like, wait, what? Your flu shots are full of preservatives and that's what you're going to give all your employees at the hospital? Yeah.
So,
it's everywhere.
Yes, it's everywhere. So that's a lot of doom and gloom. So why don't we wrap this thing up with, let's just take some baby steps in the right direction. Let's start off big picture, and then we can get more tactical as we land the plane and wrap this thing up. Number one, here's one of the easiest ways to make a decision on if you should eat this or not. Would that meal look almost identical 24 hours later, 72 hours later, a week later? McDonald's French fries,
Right.
McDonald's hamburger, right?
Right.
If the answer is yes, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Right. Yep. Same thing. I mean, we talk about what does it look like at 98 degrees? If you set something outside at 98 degrees, what does it look like 24, 48 hours later? Because that's what it's doing going through your body. Your body is 98.6 degrees, generally speaking. So as we're digesting that food, what does it look like going through?
Milk. Oh.
Okay, so if you set a food out for 24, 48 hours, what does it look like 24 or 48 hours later?
Yeah, so that's the easiest one. I know there's still people out there that are justifying eating various fast foods. What would that same exact meal look like a week later? If it looks pretty much the same, you probably shouldn't be eating it.
Right. Lots of preservatives.
So, next step or next suggestion, start trying to force yourself to buy organic chicken. I mean, chicken is one of the biggest ones. I mean, chicken is so highly produced in this world that it's so hard. I mean, think about the amount of chickens it takes to supply America.
Right.
Think about the amount of chickens that it takes to supply one McDonald's, right? Just think about it.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, yeah. There's just no way that you could produce that many chickens without getting them to grow up really fast by pumping them full of hormones and getting them to be bigger than they would naturally so that you can get a better return on investment. I mean, you should not be buying Tyson chicken. I mean, if you have to rip any Band-Aid off after this episode, please do your best to never allow Tyson chicken back into your home. I mean, let's just start there. I mean, look at that chicken breast.
And even, clients ask me about rotisserie chicken. Fine, take the skin off of it. Rotisserie chicken, fine. But be careful where you're getting the rotisserie chicken and make sure, again, that you're looking for options that are organic. And if it's a really big rotisserie chicken, it's probably not a good option. If you're like, oh, that's a huge amount of meat for a great price. Probably not your best choice.
When in doubt, ask somebody who is straight from Africa, straight from Jamaica, straight from a third world country and say, would you eat this piece of meat? They would probably go, is that an ostrich?
So trying organic as much as you can, especially starting off with your animal-based proteins as much as you can. Get organic, the lean options.
Yes. What's number 2? Or number 3, I guess, technically.
Well, I think it goes along with that is continuing on with making the adjustments in your lifestyle that you can continue to make cuts elsewhere if the money is an issue to be able to continue to receive organic options like fruits and vegetables. And even past that would be how you're prepping these fruits and vegetables, making sure you're washing everything before you start cooking them to help with reducing the transmitting of the organisms.
That's a big one right there. Even if you're not getting organic fruits and vegetables, they still were sprayed with something out in the field, and they might get rinsed off just so the dirt is not on them, so that they're cosmetically welcoming once they get to the rest or the grocery store, but nobody scrubbed them. So before you eat an apple, freaking wash the thing. Like, take a paper towel, rinse it, scrub it,
Right.
wash it.
Right.
I mean, scrub the crap off of it. At least you're getting rid of the superficial stuff.
Right. So I think those are the three good positions to start with, is making sure that you're making the best decisions that you can. Think about what that food will look like 2-3 days later. If it's going to look the same, it's not a good option because it's filled with preservatives. I would say start with chicken because that's the most common thing we eat in our house, but start with the most common thing you eat in your house of buying organic. If you eat beef more commonly or you eat elk more commonly, just start by buying the organic version of whatever meat you eat most frequently. And then same with fruits and veggies, and making sure you're washing and prepping them appropriately. And we could go on and on and on talking about different things of, should we be using prebiotics and probiotics and kombucha, and what's the best organic option for those? I mean, that could be a whole nother subject, but I think that's a good starting point.
Yes, love it. I think one big take-home message that everybody should take from this is delayed gratification, meaning that there is a reason why autoimmune disorders are skyrocketing. There's a reason why food sensitivities is skyrocketing. There's a reason why cancer is shooting through the roof right now. There's a reason why this is happening. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we're eating poison.
Right, absolutely. And there's a reason why we're able to go across the pond to the,
Italy.
Italy, UK countries, and those of us who have food sensitivities can eat over there relatively freely without having any types of symptoms, because majority of the food there is fresh, made day of, and not injected full of organisms.
That's a big one. How many people do we have here that are your clients that have gluten issues that can go over to Italy and eat pasta and bread for an entire week and have zero issues at all?
Well, not only the zero GI issues, but just very minimal weight gain, eating a significant more amount of carbohydrates over there, and they have very minimal weight gain. Versus here, if you ate pasta and bread for a week, you would gain 8 pounds in a week. I mean, of inflammation, not fat, of course, because we don't gain fat that quickly, but just the amount of inflammation.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. So think about it that way. Think about it as fuel. Your food is fuel. What kind of fuel do you want to put into your body? Do you want to put in the premium? I would love to purchase premium fuel and put it in my truck every single day. If I was planning on keeping my truck for 20 years, I would do that. But I'm a realist, and I know that I have no intention on keeping my truck longer than 5 years because it's not a truck that I'm in love with. It's not something that I really want to keep for more than 5 years. It's something that was a tweener truck from my college truck to my parent truck, right? So I'm like, okay, this is a quote unquote cheap truck, a transition truck. I know that I'm not going to keep this longer than 5 years. So I'm okay putting the crappy fuel in it every single time because I don't care if it gets me 20 years. I just need it to get me 5 years. Think about that yourself when you go to the next restaurant you go to. How long do you want your truck, your body to run? Do you want it to run another 20 years or do you want it to break down in another 5 years? Food is fuel. Just think about that. You're never going to be 100% perfect. It's not possible. Jake and Jenny are not.
Nope.
Just as long as you can try to be more better than you're not better, then at least we can start the ball going in the right direction.
Right. We say it all the time, moderation. We eat the cookies. We had caked treats. If you haven't checked out Caked on 41, maybe you shouldn't because you'll be addicted like us. But we had a box of those sitting in our kitchen all weekend long. So we definitely do it. But we have to keep in mind the word moderation and keep making as many right decisions as we can.
Good. Like and subscribe. Make sure you send us your comments or your questions. Email us. Click the show notes for more ways to connect with us. And give us a review. Let us know how you're liking this podcast. Thank you for everybody listening.
Ciao for now. Thank you for subscribing on your social media and podcast platforms to the Berman Method. Dr. Jake Berman with Berman Physical Therapy and Jenny Berman, Physician Assistant with Berman Health and Wellness. You can find more information on our website, www.bermanpt.com for physical therapy, bermanpt.com/wellness for the health and wellness. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and on your podcast platform. So be sure to follow us, like us, subscribe to us. And if you would like any further information, definitely visit our website and reach out to us. You may also find our free reports on the websites as well, where you can download this free information for yourself. Have a great day.